welcome to another InventRight TV show. My name is Andrew Krause. I co-founded InventRight with Stephen Key over 21 years ago, and since then we have had students in over 65 countries. It's no longer just Stephen and myself doing the coaching. Actually, we don't do the coaching anymore. We have 12 coaches now. They're very well trained. They're great people. They're super friendly, super knowledgeable. They've been through the process. And one of our coaches is April Mitchell. Welcome, April.
Thank you so much for having me, Andrew.
So we were chatting a little bit before, like, what are we going to share with our audience? And so even though, April's a coach, the tips and the advice that April's going to give you can apply if you actually become an InventRight student or if you're just a fan. So keep that in mind. We want to make it useful for our whole audience. So April was saying that a lot of inventors, and geez, I know when I talk to inventors, struggle with moving their projects forward. They just never seem like they're moving forward. And they really struggle with, basically, it sounds like it's a boring term, right, April? Time management. Oh, that sounds boring. But why is it important? What do people struggle with? I'm just going to throw all the questions at you up front. Why is it important? Why do people struggle with it? Maybe specifically inventors. Sometimes inventors, creative people can be a little all over the place, little ADHD. Mm-hmm. How do you help your students with that?
Good question. So I find that a lot of people struggle with, and I need to pull myself back in sometimes too, is the time management, because you're working on one project and maybe you have a setback, or maybe there's an event in your life that makes things crazy and you got to get back into things, or maybe you get a few too many no's, right? And then you kind of push on the brakes and you pull back and you don't really want to keep getting those no's. So can be a lot of fear there, or that anxiety of, I don't want to keep getting these no's, but we got to keep moving forward. Whatever step you're at in the process is you've got to keep moving forward. And I think a really important piece to that is scheduling time, because we're all busy. We all have other lives. So many people have full-time or part-time other jobs. And many people have families. So there's so many things going on, and easily the time that you think you're going to work on your project that day, something can easily come up, or
if you don't schedule it.
If you don't schedule it, exactly.
What do you guide your students to do? Do they do different things? Do they put it on their Google Calendar? Do they put it on the refrigerator? Do they tell their family, like, I'm going to be working on my invention from 7 to 9 on Wednesday nights? Like, what do they?
All of the above, Andrew. You're right on. So I recommend doing those things, and I do it too with my family. Is okay, this is on my calendar. This is when I get to work on my projects. What if the laundry needs to be turned over? If somebody has an issue, you're going to have to wait. Like, this is my time. Otherwise, I can't progress. And so to put that on your calendar, let your family know this is what's going on. And events come up, maybe friends want to hang out with. But what I tell my students, this is a hustle season, right? Once in a while, you're going to have to put your hobby or the Netflix shows or all the different distractions on the back burner. If you are working on a project and you are serious about it, you will make time for it. Mm-hmm. So put other things on the back burner, hustle, go at it, schedule that time, let everyone else know in the family or who's involved that you need this time, because one, if you're a student, you paid for this help, and I'm here to help you be accountable. And if you're not going to do the work, you're not going to get the most out of your time here. And even if you're not a student, think about your time, and you want to be progressing forward no matter where you are, so that you don't look back a year from now and say, I just didn't have the time or make the time. It's not about having the time. It's about making the time.
Does it kind of snowball in a very positive way? That, first of all, a lot of people don't have the steps. So you can set aside the time. You don't know what you're doing. You're going to be like flailing about for an hour or two, going in circles. So you need the steps. But once you have the steps, when you set aside the time and you get, like, I don't know if you use these words, but forward momentum, then does it energize your students to then set aside more time the next week? Because they're like, damn, I got a lot done in 2 hours there. And I knew what I was going to do. And you got to know what you're going to do before you do it, right?
Right. And I agree with that. I try to, the day before or the evening before, write down my to-do list, write down the companies I need to contact already on my list.
Or earlier steps, sell sheet, research, filing your
Exactly.
PPA, other things too, right?
Right, right. You don't want to sit down and then figure out what you need to do that day. You want to know what you're going to do ahead of time. So
Okay.
when your time starts, boom, you're going full speed ahead and making the most out of that time.
Now you're a little unusual. I wouldn't say all families are like this. I would say a lot of families are the opposite. You get your husband involved, you get your kids involved because you're working on a lot of toys. You work on other things too. You work on housewares products too. So when you get them involved, but they're not involved in everything. I mean, there must be projects that just you're working on. What do
Right.
you say to them to support you in? Kids can bug you every 2 seconds. You're a mom, right? That's probably next to impossible. Do
Right.
they give you some time? Do you get your husband to support you, or how does that
They
work?
they do. And the way I tell them and I look at it is if you can let me focus 100% on what I need to do, then when my time is up, I can focus 100% on you. Because if you're in coming in here and I'm trying to finish an email, I can't fully listen to you, but I need to get this done in this time frame. And so it's better for them to have the 100% attention, and it's better for my business and what I'm trying to do to have the 100% attention. So I think that really helps. Like, pause. I want to give you my 100% attention. Let's talk about this when I'm done at 2 o'clock or whatever
Right.
time it is. And I think they really get that because they don't want to have answer or I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Like that's
Well, and
not,
that's
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 not what
what
I want to give
that's
them.
what our lives are for the most part these days with social media and being pulled 20 different
Right.
directions and everything else going on. People are never 100% focused on anything, seems like.
Right.
But
It's hard.
in
It is
order to
hard.
get things done, you need to set aside that time. Oh, I don't have the time. Well, did you watch three
Make the
hours
time.
of Netflix in the evening? Maybe you do.
Exactly, exactly. And if we've got to, do some photos and videos, and I'll look at the kids' schedule too, and I have to plan that out. Like, okay, if it's sunny today, and there's no wind, because I've been trying to plan a photo shoot here for a little bit, then we got to do this, and we all agree, okay, we're going to set aside time, and we're going to do this at this time. And so just really looking at your schedule and planning that out ahead and being in conversations with your family on what you need to do and how much it means to you. For example, I'm homeschooling for the first year ever. And
Oh,
so because of that, that's taking away time from my business, but I would rather give it to my family. But now because of that, I have to work a weekend day or at least a half a weekend day to make up for the time I'm not doing during the week. So I'll construct a dozen emails on the weekend so that they're ready to send out on Monday
yeah.
because I need to do that. So just thinking about, okay, well, if you don't have time to do certain things during the week because you work full time, well, construct all your stuff, save it as drafts, and then mail it out the next week. There's ways around it. In LinkedIn, you could connect with people and message them on the weekend. So I don't feel like there's an excuse that you can constantly use.
Now, there's
Right.
another excuse. The big excuse you get a lot is, and that's the reason why a lot of people sign up for our coaching program is, look, I can set aside the time. I'm busy, but I can set aside the time. I don't know what to do. Or
Mhm.
I think I know what to do, but I'm not sure. I watched you guys' videos, but I'm not sure if it's right for this product. And so,
Right.
people kind of go around and around in circles, but that stops when you're coaching somebody because you're like, no, this is the right thing to do, and you're an expert. So whether or not they get that expert answer from us or somebody else,
Mhm.
if you set aside the time, but you have this indecisiveness that you're even doing the right thing and you're doing it in the right way, then you don't feel energized by it, and then maybe you won't schedule it again next week.
Right, right. You need to know that it's nice to know when you're on the right track and when you're not, to have someone get you back on the right track and give you that feedback. It's really valuable to have that. So uh, even if it's not us, from someone, a friend who's gone before or whatnot, I think is really important for people. And the accountability goes a long way. I mean, I just usually I'm really nice, but I had to get I'd be like, you need to make these calls. I don't want to hear any excuses next week, at least 5 calls. And, sometimes we need that person giving us that push,
Yeah.
because I remember being nervous, stomach in knots to pick up my phone to make those calls. And sometimes you just need that push to do it. And so we push you in a good way, in a
Yeah.
good way.
Yeah. That's it. Invent right. We push you in a good way. That's
Yeah,
our new
I like
tagline.
that.
Just kidding. April, that was fantastic. Thank you so much for your insight. I'm going to circle back around, interview all the coaches again. but I think this series is great. You guys are getting some insight in the coaches coaching our students, things the students struggle with, how the coaches deal with it. So regardless if you ever become an Eventbrite student, you're always going to get a lot out of these videos, these interviews with coaches. So thank you, April. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
All right, everybody. Take care. Keep inventing, and we'll catch up with you next time. See you guys. Bye.
Bye.
There's a great idea in each of us. But it's truly magical to see it come to life. Sharing your creativity with the world has never been easier. We can help.